Today we're taking another look at Bitcoin and Ethereum. A quick chart update. Not much happened over the weekend. I was actually able to catch a long trade almost perfectly from here. I closed it right here. I'll show you that in a moment. We'll also take a look at the liquidation zones. For Bitcoin, things are looking very bright both above and below us. But if we look at Ethereum, the price of around $2,300 is actually an incredible magnet when it comes to liquidation zones. In addition, of course, we'll take a look at my current positions. As you can see, I've placed limit orders for both Ethereum and Bitcoin. Then we also have the grid trading pot. That's still just in the testing phase, so we can compare it with my trading pots, especially regarding the martingale strategy. Those are the DCA bots and they're working wonderfully. I've started a new $10,000 bot, and the other one down there has just been running like a vehicle for quite some time now. Let's get started now with Bitcoin at the moment. So I would be cautious with going too heavy on longs right now, but this could also be invalidated again because, as I mentioned in the last live video I did last week, I told you we have a bearish divergence here. That actually played out. Unfortunately, my stop loss was hit at break even in this case, so my position didn't catch the move down afterwards. But I was able to, because down there we had a similar scenario, just bullish. That means we had a falling price here, while at the same time the RSI was recovering. You could see that even more clearly on the 15-minute chart. If I go over here, you can see the falling price, but here the rising RSI. That means I was almost spot on, and you can see that here on Bitunix, exactly at this candle, I was able to take my long position. But later I closed a small position here because I thought there was a liquidation zone below us. I planned to compound a bit and then write it up. But that didn't work out. So I closed this position up here, still overall in profit. And as you can see here, I just opened a new short position a moment ago, precisely because of the same scenario. We have this rising price here, but on the RSI, we're not seeing any new higher highs. And that's exactly the reason why I'm taking a short position here, at least for the short term. But my next short positions, which I'll also show you, actually set in the price range around 111,000, where we have these strong liquidation zones in this area here. And that's where I would actually go short, but I would enter cautiously there. So they're only lightly leveraged. If I remember correctly, on Bitunix, that's a 6x leverage. You can see that at 111,500 and 111,800, I've opened two positions that are waiting as limit orders to be filled. Bhutan, this is the thing, we're just below the all-time high here. That's what we're seeing here. This red box up here is our all-time high zone, and things can move faster than you might think. So that we can say we break through here and actually see this liquidation zone just to leave it behind us and simply reach new highs without having to worry too much about an early pullback. Despite everything, I still have, and in fact there are $50,000 waiting for a long position in the price range of $103,000. Because I wouldn't ignore this liquidation zone down here. It's around $103,300, the largest cluster here on the 2-week basis. For now, let's just stick to the 2-week basis. And when I look at Ethereum, we have exactly the same thing here at $2,360 to $2,310. Again, there's a huge cluster, and for Ethereum, that's several billion lying here, while there isn't much above us. And that's why this could get very interesting, so we can pick that up again. This also means that my Ethereum position, which I have open here, this 1x position now, has $4,000 in profit. And currently it's still an open profit at $3,334. And if we actually drop down to $2,340, which matches exactly with this liquidation zone, I would scale my position again there. This means I would raise my average entry price from $2,105 to about $2,220. And of course, I'm hoping that this will be it and the price will continue to rise. It's the same with Bitcoin when I enter with the 2x position. There nearly 2,000 have been realized, and now there are still $500 open, but here too I have a long position at $103,100, my current long position, which is at $95,000 to scale up, and in this case also to double. And if we look at this with Bitcoin US Tether, you can see that I have two orders in the price range zone at 103,400 and one at 103,102 orders waiting, with a total size of $50,000 for a long position. Because if we really do see another sell-off into this price range here, I want to take the opportunity to hopefully catch a good position for new rising all-time highs. And as you can see, the liquidation zone here matches up exactly with my key level, which has been working wonderfully for such a long time. And that's exactly why I say this price range is good. One more thing before we continue. I mentioned that I took a long position here because of this divergence, this small divergence. And for those who remember the video about Fibonacci, not just the scalping video, but the general Fibonacci video that I made, we actually had a bounce here at the 0.5 and 0.618 levels. If I adjust it precisely now, you can see we had a bounce here which you could have taken advantage of. And that was another reason for me to go long here over the weekend. It was pretty boring for a long time because we had this sideways phase on Saturday, but it was similar with Ethereum. Let's take another look at that with Ethereum now. We had exactly the same situation there as with Bitcoin. Here too, right at the 0.618 Fibonacci level, we had a bounce, actually a double bounce. That means we more or less had a double bottom. And if we look at this on the lower time frame, we can see that the price stayed the same here, but the RSI was rising. That's why I went long on Ethereum here and then closed my position. I did that on Bitunix as well. If we look at this on Ethereum, you can see that I actually had a long position here twice, compounded it, then unfortunately the stop loss was closed at break even for half of it, but this morning my take profit was hit here, which I had set based on a liquidation zone. That means at the moment it's really a matter of waiting, because we don't just have the liquidation zones. If we take a closer look, we currently still have a CME gap below at this point in time. This means that the exchanges already closed early on Friday at 12 o'clock instead of the usual 4 o'clock. And the current CME gap is actually at $108,135 US, which at this moment we are still about 1.18% away from. And that would also be the reason if we look at it now, $108,100 US. And if we go in here, where is this price range located? If we clear this out here, it lies exactly in this support area. If I go in here now, it's at this strong volume level. That means the Saturday consolidation we had, that would be the opportunity for my short position, where I would say I then set my stop loss to profit or to break even to see here whether we get a bounce or if we actually fall further down. Because at this point in time, if we zoom out to the daily chart, we have this large bull flag. Let me extend this here, the one that's actually struggling with a breakout right now. That means we really haven't managed to confirm the breakout. We had a new high, went back into the flag, but now we are out again. Despite all that, two scenarios are super interesting. Upper liquidation zone, lower liquidation zone, I'm prepared for both. Because even if we look at the smaller time frames on the liquidation heat map, you can see that there's quite a bit both above and below us. And that's just looking at 1 day. But if we look at 3 days, you can see that at around $170,000 US, there's a much larger cluster than above us. And if we look at this on the liquidation map as well, we can see that these large orders waiting for liquidation at 106,938 would currently suggest that we are more likely to move further down. Maybe not immediately down to 103,000, but if we look at this on a smaller time frame, it's exactly this 107,000, which would again be my key level here, the range from 107,000 to 106,400. That would fit perfectly in this case, because that's exactly the cluster that lies here. But we must not forget, we also have quite a bit above us on a weekly basis. That goes up to about 111,000, which comes into play this week, but only on a weekly basis. And as I mentioned earlier, on a 2-week basis, we have even more above that, which actually extends up to just under $112,000. And that's why for me it means waiting a little bit now. I'll keep that one short position, but otherwise I'll wait in this price range, both for this price range and to place short orders here and long orders there. Because right now at the market opening, I think a lot will happen due to the 1-day liquidation, as I just showed, so that we trigger liquidations above and below, and we'll see some up and down movements here before we decide on a direction. If we take a quick look at the liquidations for XLP, you can see here below us there's quite a bit more on a 2-week basis. And for Solana, you can also see at $144.4 US, we still have a massive cluster. That's why it will be very interesting to see if we actually come back to pick that up again. At the moment, overall, if we look at the altcoins, there's quite a bit more below us than above us. It's really only with Bitcoin that we have a significant balance between the liquidation zones above and below us, although there's a bit more below us, at least on the 2-week basis right now. There's really not much more to say today, at least at this point. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I'd really appreciate it if you did. Also, check out the last video here, 1-minute scalping strategy, you won't believe it. This is super interesting because what I'm showing you here isn't just something you can use on the 1-minute chart, but actually on any time frame, as I showed you earlier. In fact, it even influenced my long entry over the weekend, since we triggered the 0.618 level on the Fibonacci scale. Alright, otherwise leave a like for the video and I'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.